Okay,
Okay,
everybody,
everybody,
good
good
afternoon,
afternoon,
good
good
evening, and
evening,
good
and good
night,
night,
pedestrians.
pedestrians.
Today we have
Today
the
we have the
pleasure
pleasure
of
of
speaking
speaking
with one
with
of
one
our
of our
incredible
incredible
guests,
guests,
Mr.
Mr.
Murphy.
Murphy.
Mr. Murphy is a Bahasa Indonesia student from Braemar College who is currently visiting Indonesia and SMA Pradita Dirgantara as a part of the bridge program established between the two schools.
Maybe first, Mr. Murphy, you can introduce yourself more to the audience.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Mr. Murphy, or Mr. Murphy is my full name. Ya jadi kenalan. Saya guru bahasa Indonesia dari Australia. Terus saya sudah belajar bahasa Indonesia itu selama 16 tahun dari waktu SD. So I've been learning it for a long time, and I love coming to Indonesia, and especially I love free trips. So whenever the government offers me free money to come to Indonesia, I'll always take it.
Don't we all?
So maybe, because today is Batik Day, maybe we can show off our batik a little bit today. So Mr. Murphy, I can see you're also wearing a batik today.
What is this? Can you explain to us what do you think of that batik in particular, and what do you feel?
So I don't know. Usually I just have to find the batik that fits me. Because
Is it hard to find batik that fits you?
Yes. It's really hard to find batik in my size because I'm quite tall. I'm 192 centimeters tall.
Wow.
So because of that, I usually have to shop at the more expensive stores that cater to us Westerners. So all of my batik is mostly batik fleece. Because they're the only one where I can find easily my size.
Okay.
Unless I get someone to make it, but then that's expensive.
Yeah. Okay, so without further ado, I can tell that everyone listening right now is probably very eager to dive into today's topic, and I don't blame you. So today we're going to talk about something that has the power to transform how we connect with others and experience the world. The topic is foreign language learning. So whether you're picking up a new language for travel, career, or just wanting to learn a new language and simply enjoy understanding another culture, language learning is a journey filled with challenges and rewards. So especially as we have someone here that has learned a foreign language, very different than their own language, maybe we can ask a little bit of questions to Mr. Murphy.
But before we start,
I'm just going to address one of the he is a foreigner.
And yes, the
majority
of this podcast will be spoken in English, but don't worry, jangan risau khawatir karena kita akan juga banyak sekali ngobrol menggunakan bahasa Indonesia seperti tadi ya. Mr. Murphy sangat jago bahasa Indonesia. But going back into the main topic, so for our first question, maybe we should just break the ice a little bit. Mr. Murphy, how was your trip so far in Indonesia?
Well, I'm loving it. It's hot. It's really hot. But I'm surviving. Jadi karena biasanya di Melbourne sekarang cuacanya itu masih dingin, padahal sudah musim semi. Jadi sekarang di kota saya minggu lalu ada salju di kampus sekolah saya.
Oh, really?
Iya memang. Jadi barang gue rasanya kayak gimana sih? Kayak a little bit sick because I'm going from one extreme to the other.
Oh, yeah.
Jadi minggu lalu datang ke sekolah itu minus 2 derajat Celcius dan di sini sudah 35 tadi. So it's like too extreme for my body, but I've actually been loving it at Pradita. It's such a big school. Yesterday we had what was it? Hari Kesaktian Pancasila. So yeah, that was really cool seeing everyone out for the ceremony for that. But it's very different to Australia. In Australia, I don't think I've ever seen any of my students salute. Like there's anything like that in Australia. Only if you're like in the Taruna. In the school. But that's only like maybe 40, 50 students from 1,200 students. Not too many. Yeah.
Well, you learn something new every day. Padahal musim
hujan
Hujan panas ya teman-teman ya.
Well, that's something we never expect to learn, which is upacara. And maybe one of the biggest questions and something every Indonesian is proud of when seeing a foreigner being able to speak Indonesian is why bahasa Indonesia? Kenapa bahasa Indonesia? Kan ada bahasa Prancis, bahasa Spanyol, kenapa bahasa Indonesia?
Well, I mean, when I was in school, I didn't have a lot of choice. In most Australians, it's compulsory to learn a language. Wajib belajar satu bahasa sampai akhir SMP. Especially in my city of Melbourne, it's compulsory. And usually schools offer 2 languages, one from Asia, one from Europe. Jadi di sekolah saya ada bahasa Jerman sama bahasa Indonesia. I picked Indonesian because the teacher was nicer. Because eventually I kept going with it because it's closer to Australia, lebih gampang kalau dari Australia ke sini, lebih murah juga ke sini daripada ke Jerman. And I think it's nice to go to a place where it's nice and warm most of the time, especially when it's cold back where I am.
So
But not too hot.
Yeah, not too hot.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to delve deeper into that. You said that you are interested in bahasa as a teacher. Well, currently, my friends, I'm also learning French, but I also have the same problem where I learned French because of a very nice teacher in Indonesia. But it's very hard to keep the same spirit of learning after the teacher has done their job and not passed that way, but like has done their job and finished teaching me. So all I want to ask is like how Mr. Murphy is able to keep like fighting and keep learning bahasa Indonesia after even the teacher has gone to a different direction.
Yeah, I guess the biggest part is I made a lot of friends along the way. Studying in Australia, people learning with me, as well as when I came to Indonesia, aku ada banyak teman yang dari Indonesia juga. So, like for example, I went to Yogyakarta in 2018 for a student exchange. Jadi ikut tukar mahasiswa ke UGM in 2018. And while I was there, I made a lot of friends through some really random ways as well. Like for example, my first day in Yogyakarta actually, or like the first week, just this person I met at campus at university, she invited me to her family's house for Idul Adha.
Oh, that's so good.
I had no clue what to expect. And as soon as I arrived, they shuffled me through the house, get me to the backyard, and they're like, okay, now you're going to sacrifice the goat for us. So they gave me the knife and stuff. I'm like, what?
That should be the biggest culture shock.
That should be a very big culture shock, yeah.
So I did that, and then so after that we've been friends for ages. And I still talk to her most days as well. So it's interactions like that. I made lots of friends. So always, whenever I see any Instagram stories, I'm replying to them, or they reply to me. So that's how not only do I keep my semangat up, but it's also how I practice my Indonesian as well daily. So just replying to Instagram DMs.
Yeah, so it's important for communication also, right?
Yeah.
So, as you said before, you've learned Indonesian for 16 years already now, right? Wow, that's still amazing. And I want to ask, how long did it take you to feel confident in speaking Bahasa Indonesia? Because, of course, not everyone can speak fluently on their first year or like in the first half. So, how long did it take for you to feel confident speaking to another Indonesian?
To feel confident? I was confident from the start.
That's great.
I just wasn't correct. So I think the biggest thing about anyone learning any language is just always being confident in saying what you're trying to say, even if it's wrong. Like, people will understand you. So typically most people can understand what you're trying to say, even if you've got grammar mistakes or if you're saying something that's wrong. So the biggest thing is always just have a go, and you learn from the mistakes more than you learn from the right answer most of the time. Because you learn why it's wrong, and then you can improve what your answer would have been as well. So I think being confidently wrong is the biggest part. Just saying something that might not be correct, sounds stupid or silly, but people might laugh at you, but you just laugh with them as well.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Yeah. So,
Mr. Murphy said that you have gone to UGM for a student program. And I want to know, how long have you been studying Bahasa prior to that?
Prior to that, So I did it from when I was in primary school, dari SD. I studied it all SD, SMP, SMA, and I did 2 years at university. And then after that, there was ada beasiswa ke Indonesia 1 semester. Jadi saya ikut itu, terus ke sini ya di Jogja yang 2. So yeah, it was maybe like 8-9 years before I came to Jogja. But I probably learned more in the 6 months in Jogja than I did at school before.
Yeah.
So being immersed in a completely Indonesian-speaking culture, or for you guys, an English-speaking culture, makes you learn like 10 times quicker.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're gonna dive into right now.
Yeah.
Like, did the program actually impacted you that much, or was it just a 6-month program and nothing special like that?
So the actual classes at the university, they helped, but they were the same as being at class back in Australia. But the biggest thing is probably just all of the interactions outside of class. So ordering my dinner in Indonesian, trying to navigate Gojek in Indonesian, especially because whenever I was on Gojek, because of my name, Darcy, lots of people always like, titik sesuai mapsnya ya mbak. And then they call me mbak, and then they arrive and they're like, what? Why are you a guy, a bule, and that tall? I don't want to take you anymore. Yeah.
So the 6 months really impacted you, and maybe one more thing, maybe like, so it's just very surprising to me that someone learned a foreign language since primary school all the way up to college, and they still have the same goal. Like some of us, maybe most of us who are watching, even when they are learning a foreign language, sometimes they get depressed that they are not getting it right, and they try to switch to another language just so that maybe another language fits them better. But Exhibit A shows that it's possible to actually stay and complete your goal and achieve your dreams of actually being fluent. And I want to ask about how do you feel of when people say that, oh, maybe I should change the language I'm trying to learn, since maybe Indonesian is not for me, maybe I should learn Japanese or something like that. What's your response?
So I think probably the biggest thing is the biggest thing for me is probably. What was the question?
It's normal for us, like, not normal, maybe most of us, for most of us that when studying a new language or learning a new language, we get like depressed or like very heartbroken that we can't improve and learn the language fluently or correctly, to the point that we have like second thoughts of should I continue learning this language, or should I just switch another language that fits me better, that maybe can give me much more than this language. I'm not sure anything about that. And for you who have been studying for nine years or 16 and counting, my friends. You've shown resilience and actually wanting to study more and going to Indonesian and learning new experiences. Like, what can you say to those people who are in that mindset currently?
I think the biggest thing is why you're learning the language in the first place. I think, and that can change over time. Like your goal from your first day learning a language to your goal 10 years in is probably going to be different because you've probably changed as a person in those 10 years. But I think the reason why you learn a language shouldn't just be to be good at the language. You should be learning the language so that you can do something with it. Like, for example, I originally started learning the language when I was in high school because I wanted to go to Bali for a cheap holiday.
That's a good motivation though.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's more because I've seen how important it has been to my life and to some other people. I really just want to sort of share that with other people, and I want to improve Indonesian language learning in Australia because at the moment it's actually on the decline because of various factors. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but the biggest thing would be government funding is currently at an all-time low. So trying to be like the grassroots change to encourage people to keep studying Indonesian is sort of why I keep trying to learn and learn more so that I can be a better teacher.
Money works, money
Yeah.
works. Money works.
Okay, so still connecting to that question, of course, learning a new language, you have to face some challenges, right, sir? What do you think was the biggest challenge for you learning Bahasa Indonesia? And as a teacher, how do you motivate your students to overcome it?
So I think probably the biggest one is the accent.
Wow.
To get Indonesian accent, it's really hard. My students can't pronounce Indonesian very well.
Give us an example of a word.
I mean, the biggest one is the letter C.
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 Like making a chest sound for C.
Oh,
Oh,
They
chest.
always
C.
forget.
Yeah.
So my students will always say, "Saya berbicara tentang."
Oh.
Like,
Wait,
that
what?
sounds really wrong.
It sounds really long.
Because they use the C like they do in English.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the other one is they can't roll their R's. They can't go
Ooh,
like,
that's
"Oh."
hard,
And it's
yeah.
really important for Indonesian. So, yeah, the biggest thing is trying to get them to do that like an Indonesian. And it's really hard, especially in Australia, for people learning Indonesian because there's not that many resources when you're trying to learn. Like media, like social media, television, like books and all that sort of stuff. It's really hard to find that in Australia. Whereas if you're in Indonesia trying to learn English,
Yeah.
there's so many different types of Netflix series you can watch, YouTube all in English, books all in English. So yeah, if I want to buy an Indonesian book in Australia, I can't. I have to come to Indonesia, buy it, and bring it back.
Wow.
I never actually thought about it like that.
Yeah, I
it's
never
very,
actually
it's
thought
very
about it
a
like
good
that.
perspective, yeah. And that's very interesting, actually. Learning a perspective from a teacher, a Bahasa Indonesia teacher, who teaches Australians how to learn Bahasa. But since there's definitely a big change on how your own teacher teaches you Bahasa Indonesia and how you yourself teaches the current kids learn Bahasa. What would you say was the biggest tactic or your best strategy in engaging students to learn and master Indonesia?
I think the biggest thing is getting motivation levels high and getting people excited to be in class. The biggest thing that I would say is probably connecting them with peers in Indonesia. Like for example, I've been doing some Zoom calls with the Pradita students and my students. I think doing a lot of stuff like that where they can see that there is people that they can speak with when they're learning the language. Because in Australia, there's not many Indonesians, especially in our school, that they can practice with. They can only practice with me, really,
Oh.
and the other teacher. That's all there is. So, getting them to see that there's a reason for them to learn is also another massive thing.
Is there not a lot of students or teachers that are actually able to talk Indonesian? Like, does the school or do people typically only know Mr. Murphy as the only person that understands Indonesian?
Yeah. Yes. So,
Really?
no. So there's 2 or 3 teachers at my school, but because our school is across 2 campuses, I teach the senior students, and there's another teacher that teaches the junior students. So they don't know the other teacher that well. Typically, the students that are more advanced. So if they want to practice their Indonesian, they can only really do it with me.
Yeah. How about let's go broader beyond campus. Let's say just in an everyday life. Do you find yourself utilizing bahasa?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, as I mentioned, like on Instagram as well, just with friends, but also if you go into the city of Melbourne, especially onto the university campuses, there's lots and lots of Indonesians who are speaking in Indonesian.
Oh yeah.
So you can it's funny because sometimes they're talking with their friends and they don't think anyone around them can understand, but I can understand what they're saying. It's really funny. I even do it when I'm in Indonesia. Like, people will maybe talk about me when they don't know I speak Indonesian, about me in Indonesian, and like they'll be like saying, "Oh, like, what's he doing? Like, what's this like silly foreigner doing here?" And then sometimes I'll just respond to them in Indonesian and be like, "Because I want to be," or something like that, and they always get really shocked. Like one time when I was getting a massage it was actually in the city of Batu in East Java. I was getting a massage with a couple of friends while we were there for the day at Jatim Park 3, I think. And the guy giving me the massage, talking to the other guy, to the other tukang pijet. He's like, oh yeah, this guy has lots of hair. It's like he's like a monkey. I'm like,
oh my goodness.
yeah, and I'm like, yeah, aku memang monyet ya. And he was like, and then he just started laughing. I'm like, okay, what is wrong with you? Please stop. But yeah.
Well, at least you got a good comeback out of it. Right?
That's one of the biggest perks of actually learning native language.
A new language.
It's one of my own reasons to want to learn French, because I want to actually go to French and pretend that I don't understand French, and maybe actually make a good video out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there's a YouTuber in Indonesia, in Surabaya actually. His name's Londo Kambung.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, his family's from Australia, but he grew up in Surabaya, so he's really fluent in Javanese.
Oh.
So he always makes like jokey videos about like pretending not to understand and then speaking in Japanese and stuff like that. It's really funny. Like you should look at it. Yeah, I find it really, really funny.
How about you, sir? Have you ever interested in learning, dialects like Japanese?
I've learned a little bit. Yeah, so from when I've been to certain places, people teach me a few words. Probably the funniest experience, and I don't know if I can say it on here. Am I allowed to say one swear word or not?
Maybe what do you call it? Cover it. Maybe
Okay.
censor it.
Okay. So when I was in Yogyakarta, I used to go to Burjo a lot and learn, like to have dinner before I'd go out. It's really cheap. Usually mie dok is my favorite. But yeah, all the abang gojek that are always there, they would always teach me words and be like, oh yeah, for example, if you meet a pretty girl in the club, the way to say you're pretty in Javanese is koi a, and then a word for dog in Javanese.
Okay.
So yeah, and then so I said that to a girl in the club, and then I got slapped.
Oh my goodness.
We do have fun here. We do have fun here.
We say something, we should check it before when learning a new language.
Yeah, we do. So yeah, we do have fun here in Indonesia, right?
And maybe a lot of people in the world also think that, especially in your opinion, do you think that in some languages, like European ones, like are they seen as more important to learn than Indonesian? Like for most people in the world, they learn a European language, and most of the people around the world also, when they hear people learning Bahasa Indonesia, they kind of think about why Bahasa Indonesia, why not just European language, and what are your thoughts about that?
I mean, I think there is that sort of prevailing mindset that European languages are more important to learn, especially from some of the parents of the students at my school, because they learnt French, so obviously their child should learn French as well. But I think it's really ignorant to think like that. For example, French hasn't been the lingua franca of the world for like over 100 years now. So why do you really need to learn French? France isn't a massive economy. France doesn't do a lot on the global stage. It's good if you're traveling through countries in the north of Africa where they were colonized by the French. But I think with an eye to the future, like you learn a language typically for economic benefit. You learn it because you can get money out of it, right? And I mean, if you look at it, Asia is the fastest growing area in the world. China's getting massive, and all of the other countries around it are getting bigger and bigger too. Indonesia is the fourth largest country in the world in terms of population, and it's projected that in 10 years they'll be the fifth or fourth biggest economy in the world. So why would I not want to know a language of a country that could get me a lot of money?
Yeah.
I mean, I learned French, but maybe talking about something that some of the viewers may not know. Me and Jihan and I are actually Bridge students, and for those who don't know, Bridge is a program that is established between the country Australia and Indonesia, and it's also a program that's established here in SMA Pradita Dirgantara and Braemar College. And we are fortunate enough to be able to spend some time with some Australian friends. Yeah, so and Mr. Murphy was one of the guardians who accompanied them. And we had lots of fun as we met up in their trip to Borobudur. Okay. Now, from a Australian standpoint, as a teacher standpoint, how did that that trip actually affect the students' learning outcome or something like that, the progress?
I mean, I think they loved it personally, and I think again the in-country experience was 10 times more valuable than a lesson just in the class back in Australia. I think they had a lot of fun meeting you guys as well, and I hope you guys did too. Who did you guys get partnered up with? Who are your partners?
We got partnered up with the seniors, which is Noah, and also Anuk and Dakota. What's up, guys? Hey, guys. Maybe you have some thoughts on those particular students. We've heard that they love Mr. Murphy. They love Mr. Murphy.
They love taking advantage of me. Noah in particular is always late to class. I can say this now because they've already finished all their classes forever. They've got their final exams coming up next month at the end of October and the start of November. So yeah, Noah and Anuk, another student in our class, are always late, especially if it's a morning class. Our school starts at 9 a.m, so it's a lot later than you guys, yeah? But they're still late.
Then they're still late.
They turn up at like 9:30, 9:45, they're like, oh sorry, we slept in, so we just drove to school today. I'm like, come on guys. But yeah, their Indonesian got so much better after the trip as well though.
Really?
Maybe it also gave them more motivation to learn the language.
Maybe they continue learning the language after graduating.
Yes.
And I guess as maybe from us Indonesians, from our standpoint, the program itself or the whole ordeal of meeting some foreign students who we've never met before, who we've only talked through like emails and Zoom calls, was pretty weird at first, weird, yeah. And knowing that they do not mind or are very interested in Indonesian culture was very, very shocking, and also a good conversation starter.
Yeah.
As they keep asking like, where do you guys find the best like tea here or something like that, and we, even though it's like a very, very weird thing to ask, it was fun as since they show interest and they show love and admiration for
Indonesian culture, and also we got to talk about each other's experience in each other's countries. Like they showed us not just Australia but also like Dakota showed us a little bit of Italian words because he's Italian, and they also showed us their cars.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And to some people it might not sound very meaningful, but actually through that experience we learned a lot.
We learned a lot.
We also got new friends a lot.
We learned a lot. We fostered new relationships with some friends. Me and Jian actually still contact Anuk and Noah, yes, exactly. And they keep sending us lovely messages. And before this this podcast started, we actually asked them about P-Murph.
A couple of them about P-Murph.
P-Murph. That's what they wanted to call Mr. Murphy from now on, P-Murph, as in Pak Murphy. And they wanted to specifically P-Murph. So once again, we are so grateful that P-Murph is here with us today. And
Very, very grateful that
maybe
the P-Murph
is here today. And maybe broadening our subject a little bit, we wanted to ask about the main, impression of the students for, let's say, before the trip and after the trip, or let's say before joining the program entirely and after, or currently, since the program is still going on, friends. And what's their impression? Did they change, or were they gloomy at first, like why do I have to join this, blah blah blah, or were they like very, very like nervous, or I don't know. Yeah. Well, how was your impression?
So before we did our first ever Zoom session, most of my year 12s were like, do we have to do this? My Indonesian sucks, they're going to laugh at me. The English is going to be like a million times better than our Indonesian. I'm like, yes, you've got to do it. And as soon as the first session finished, like, oh, that was really fun. They were like actual normal human beings. I'm like, yes, what did you expect?
What did they expect?
I don't know. They expected like robots. But yeah, so it was really interesting to see that they were just really, really nervous going into it. So like they were going to embarrass themselves, but when they came out after it, even though they used mostly English, they were very happy with themselves, I think. I
know this might be like a little bit not really understanding for all the viewers, but like Mr. Murphy was was very terrifying when we first met him. He was really, from a first impression standpoint, he was really big and was very, very uptight, or very asking the students, ngajak teman-teman semua untuk kayak ngobrol. And at first we were like, stop forcing us, stop. we were very scared. But after, even now, meeting Mr. Murphy, he's very lovely. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Murphy actually teaches some classes here in Pradita Dirgantara, and he primarily teaches the 10th graders and the 11th graders. So since me and Jihan and I are 12th graders, we sadly didn't get the opportunity to do so, but we want to ask about that. How did you feel not teaching Australian kids, but how does it feel teaching some Indonesian students?
So it's the opposite.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, and it's with Indonesians in general as well, everyone's so shy. Like, they're so good at English, but I'll ask them something and then they'll just speak really, really quietly. So I won't hear them. So I think they're wrong, but they're not wrong. They're just not too shy to speak up. So it's, as soon as they got confident enough to speak really loudly, like, it was just really obvious that their English is like so good. Sometimes their English, like the English of you two guys here today, is better than some of my students in English back in Australia.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's shocking to
Because they don't know all of like the grammar rules and all of that sort of stuff. So their English is very colloquial, very slang heavy. So because of that, they don't make proper sentences sometimes. But you guys, when you speak, it's like always very proper.
I think it's very, very shocking for a foreigner to say that my English is better. But
It's very shocking to say that my English is better than a local.
we will definitely take it.
We will definitely take it as a compliment, a very big compliment.
Another question I would like to ask. We see you entering this room with a toy, everybody. Maybe you can show off and showcase it to the viewers at home. So it's a football, if I'm correct. Is it a football? Yeah, it's a football. Oh, this one. Is it this one? Yeah. It's Sharon.
Yes, it's a football from Aussie Rules Football, and it's the best sport in Australia.
Football or rugby?
AFL, football.
Maybe you can put it there. And we actually, there was a moment, I think yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, where you play football with the students here at the at the field. And was that spontaneous? Was that even in the plan?
I mean, it was kind of spontaneous, but I really wanted to show them that it's the best sport from Australia, because people in Melbourne play AFL, people from Sydney and Brisbane play rugby, and Melbourne is by far the better city. So I just had to show everyone that Melbourne is the best and Sydney sucks.
Wow.
Sorry, Sydney. Maybe another day.
But yeah, so maybe if I teach them how to play AFL now, I can get them to be really good, and then they can go into the professional league, make millions of dollars, and then they give me some money.
Outsourcing at the finest.
Outsourcing at the finest. And so maybe a lot of people are familiar with American football. What's the difference between American football and Australian football?
Well, Australian football is better. It's the better game. Because it's called football and you can actually use your feet, unlike American football.
Wow.
American football, they throw the ball.
Yeah.
Australian football, we kick it and we punch the ball. And it's just more enjoyable to watch. I've shown a lot of my students this week at Pradita some videos showing them how to play AFL. And I'd definitely recommend anyone that's interested in AFL to watch AFL Explained. It's a short video on YouTube, 5 minutes long, and explains the rules and how to play. And because as soon as you fall in love with the game, you'll be watching it every week. But if you do start watching AFL, you've got to support my team. You can't support any other team. Carlton, which is like a suburb or an area near Melbourne. So, yeah.
I think maybe one more. Yeah, maybe one more for good luck. So, which one's better, Australian or American football?
Australian.
Maybe one day, guys. One day, maybe I can make the football team.
Maybe.
So this one needs to go up here now.
Okay,
Maybe we
keep
can-
that.
This is American football.
At the bottom here.
American football
Yeah.
you can throw that one away.
AFL,
Yeah,
the
just
better
AFL,
football.
That's all you
The
need.
better.
Yeah, the better.
And maybe a slight rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, but we've heard that a certain someone likes to sing. I don't know if it's that true, but a certain someone likes to sing. Nah,
Christy?
definitely not. And is it Jihan?
I think it's not me also.
So if it's not me or if it's not Jihan, then there's one.
You, Mr. Murphy?
I do happen to sing once or twice in a blue moon. I do love karaoke. I go to karaoke quite often with my friends, and Indonesian songs do come up quite often.
Okay, with that fact, can we ask you what is your favorite Indonesian song?
There's so many to choose from. For karaoke, it changes, but if I'm listening, my favorite song at the moment is Chin Chin by Hindia.
Wow. Cultured.
Yeah.
Very cultured.
So I've been listening to that a lot, but I love Hindia, I love Pamungkas, Adito Pramono, Nadina Miza. They're all like my sort of favorite artists to listen to. But of course, when it comes to karaoke, you've got to sing a different type of song. So when I'm singing karaoke, my go-tos are Via Valen and Nella Krisma.
Wow.
So I typically will sing Jarang Goyang, Bojo Gala, Sayang, and all those sort of songs because they sound so much fun to sing. And Cendol Dawet, what's the song called again? Yang Didi Kempot.
Maybe give it a go. Maybe. Give us a verse. Give us a verse.
If you like Via Valen and Dangdut, can you sing us your favorite karaoke song?
Maybe a small
Give
verse.
us a little bit of a sneak peek of your amazing singing, the rumored amazing singing.
I can't because it's a secret. You've got to pay to see. Maybe behind the paywall later.
Behind the paywall. Maybe for those who are at home, maybe you can just tip Mr. Murphy for a exclusive show
Cover
of.
Via Valen Sayang. Didi Kempot.
But do you often teach your students while singing, or is it mainly hobbies?
Do you show your students Indonesian songs?
Yeah, for sure. Usually while they're working in class, if they're working quietly, I'll play some Indonesian songs in the background. Sometimes it's just like gamelan, but other times it's more contemporary as well. Like even though it's not in Indonesian, they love listening to Nicki.
Yeah.
That's still Indonesian.
Yeah. Their favorite song is High School in Jakarta, so I always play that for them, and they love that song. But yeah, I play all sorts of songs to them in Indonesian. Sometimes they get a little sick of it. Sometimes I force them to dance to it as well, like we do Pocho Pocho, or we do Gemu Famire. So we do all of that in class as well. Usually when they're looking flat, I get them all up and we do Pocho Pocho for like 10 minutes straight.
Pocho. 10 minutes. That's a workout right there.
So they experience the culture of Indonesia.
Yeah. So maybe friends out there who are trying to learn a foreign language, we can see from Mr. Murphy here who has successfully mastered, should I say?
Yeah.
Not quite.
Not quite.
Not mastered.
Not that yet. Successfully become half fluent. Half fluent
I'll take
Indonesian.
I'll take half.
And for those who are trying to learn a foreign language, do not stop and keep trying, because we can see in Mr. Murphy here, there's a lots of perks and also advantages of learning a native language. And maybe before we end things off,
We have some questions.
Yes.
Some notes from your lovely students back at Bremer College.
So before this podcast started, I asked one of my friends, Anouk, to ask all of the Bremer students if they have any questions that they would like to ask to P. Murph.
P. Murph.
And
First, let me ask, what is P. Murph actually, Mr. Murphy? What does it stand for? P. Murph.
P. Murph is just Pak Murphy. But because my students love photoshopping me into different scenarios, so there's a big poster up on the wall in our classroom, which is me as a gangster, P. Murph repping my postcode. I think Noah made that one, Noah and Dakota, and they've made a bunch of different ones. all around the classroom, there's just photos of me in various Photoshop scenarios.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're gonna delve into. So, Mr. Murphy, we here in Australia, this one's for you, Noah. You are known by another name when repping your ends. Is it true P. Murph runs Sunbury? And for those who are at home who are interested in the photo,
Picture.
we have it exactly right here. Who could have guessed? And is this the photo that you were talking about, Mr. Murphy?
That is the photo.
Our lovely friends from Burma College sent us this picture of P. Murph repping 3038.
Can you give us a background of this photo? What does it imply actually?
It means I'm the gangster that runs the area. I'm the local preman.
Local preman. And maybe another one from Lulu here. What is your opinion on corn, Mr. Murphy?
On what?
On corn.
Corn.
Yes.
The food.
Yes.
Why is she asking me about
we
corn?
do not know either.
We don't know either, but Lulu wanted to ask you, what is your opinion on corn?
Random tough.
I feel like I'm going to fall into a trap by answering this question. I feel like it's a trap. But corn is nice. I like jagung bakar.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Maybe you can abbreviate more, Lulu, because we do not know any other. And maybe last one. How much were Zane's shorts? Because we heard you got them for a bargain.
He did get them for a bargain. He said it a lot. I've actually forgotten the number. I think that was $7.
Oh, $7.
For the shorts.
Yes.
Okay. So that would be all from our lovely friends from Braemar. We are still in contact with them, and we would like, me and Jian and I would like to say that we miss you guys so much, and we hope that we meet you guys again soon. Our loveliest friends from Braemar. And for those who are still wondering on what is going to happen next, what's next for Mr. Murphy and what's gonna happen with Bridge, don't worry guys, because Pradita is gonna be updated. It's gonna keep you updated soon, and please be sure to follow Instagram and follow us and follow Mr. Murphy's story, and maybe follow Mr. Murphy's Instagram also. And maybe to end things off, Mr. Murphy, do you have any closing statements? Of course, in Indonesia.
Maybe for your students, maybe for Pradita students, and also people watching.
Jadi untuk murid saya di Australia, saya berharap yang kelas 12 itu masih belajar karena ada ujian pada hari Senin ya. Jangan lupa. Ada ujian akhir sekolah hari Senin. Jadi saya balik ke Australia hari Minggu. Insya Allah my flight is not late. Karena if I'm late, I will miss the exam.
Oh my goodness.
But don't be late to school. We have to be at school at 8 o'clock, okay?
8 o'clock.
So please be there. To all the students at Pradita, I'm really thankful. Saya harus berterima kasih untuk semua karena sambil saya di sini selama seminggu saja, saya merasa seperti saya sudah di sini selama setahun. Wow. Saya sudah tahu banyak tentang sekolah Pradita, tentang muridnya. Mereka kenalan dirinya kepada saya. Terus saya merasa kayak saya harap bisa ketemu sama mereka pada masa depan. Kalau mereka bisa dapat beasiswa untuk kuliah di Australia, saya berharap mereka akan kabarin ya.
Yeah.
Jadi thank you very much, not just to the students as well, but to all of the teachers. Especially the two bridge teachers that have been following me everywhere I go, Miss Nana and Miss Ella. They've been so kind to me and putting up with all of my crappy Australian jokes and my sarcasm. But yeah, they're two very awesome teachers as well.
Kayaknya kalau kita ke Australia kayaknya nggak cukup kasih kabar doang, tapi kita harus juga support tim Australian footballnya kali ya.
Carlton, yes.
Shout out to Carlton. But that would be all from us today for all viewers and audience watching right now. Thank you so much for joining in. And
we hope through this podcast also, people who are watching have more motivation and also more will to learn a foreign language and never give up on learning a language, because as you can see, Mr. Murphy over here is incredible. Okay.
He's enjoying life in Indonesia.
Enjoying life in Indonesia and also in Australia, teaching his other students.
Yes. He cannot deny that being in Indonesia was the most best decision that you ever made. And for those who are wondering like Mr. Murphy said, he would go back or leave Pradita in Friday, I reckon. And so there's still gonna be some stories about him left. Do not think that this will be the end. Don't worry, because there's still 2 days left, and let's make the most of it. And yeah, I think that's all about it. Maybe Mr. Murphy, maybe a quick word for those who are right now at the phase of learning a new language.
Yuk bisa, yuk.
Yuk bisa, yuk. And with that, we end this podcast. Terima kasih untuk Mr. Murphy, terima kasih untuk Jihan, terima kasih untuk saya. Yang terima kasih untuk semua yang menonton. Dan itu saja dari kami. Mohon maaf kalau ada salah kata, mohon maaf ke Mr. Murphy kalau ada salah ngomong atau salah kurang berkenan. Mungkin saya masih suka American football. Nggak tahu. Nggak, canda.
I support Carlson.
Tapi itu saja dari kami. Kalau ada apa-apa, please make sure to leave a comment and like, and also follow us. And don't forget to follow Mr. Murphy. And that would be all.
If you want to ask for updates on Mr. Murphy, you can ask me, Rizky, or just Mr. Murphy himself.
Yes. And if you want to